Hello everyone, Coming Clean here. When you decide to start collecting Skylanders, there's a lot to take in. You have 6 games and a lot of things to potentially collect for each of them, and things can quickly become overwhelming. I've made several videos where I try to help people get into the franchise, but today I intend to do something a bit different, as I'm going to list 4 common mistakes that people make when starting collecting Skylanders. Let's get right into it. The first mistake people might make is to try to collect all games and all figures at once. This will not only give you a headache as you scour the used market for things you need for 6 different games, you're also bound to rush things and buy stuff you didn't want or need. Let's talk about the games first. You may jump on the first deal you can find to get superchargers for your PlayStation 3, only to realize that you much rather own the superior PS4 version that you found 3 days later. Maybe you buy Swap Force for your Xbox 360, unbeknownst to the fact that the game is localized for the Nordic countries and doesn't include English voices. I totally didn't do this myself and ended up with 2 versions. Playing all 6 games in the right order might seem like a good idea, but you really need to? If you don't own a legacy console like a Wii U, PS3 or Xbox 360 to play the first games, Spyro's Adventure and Giants on, is it really worth getting a new console just for the purpose of playing those games? I'm not saying it isn't, just that you should think about it. Both are great games, well worth a playthrough, but they're not going anywhere. If all you own is a PlayStation 4, you might as well buy superchargers, which is usually relatively cheap, and you don't need dozens of figures to experience the whole game either. But what about the story? Won't you feel lost jumping into the 5th game? In short, no. There is a coherent narrative spanning all 6 games, but the games are to a large extent made for new players to jump in at any given point in the story without feeling confused. And you don't need every figure right away either, not even the ones required for 100% completion. The Skylanders games are designed to be played multiple times, so you might as well collect figures at the same time as you experience the game. Also, leveling up Skylanders is time-consuming, and you are very unlikely to unlock all abilities of more than a handful of figures on your first playthrough. Therefore, unless you find a really good deal, buying 87 Skylanders at the same time actually doesn't make much sense. In conclusion, just relax, do some research and see which game will be best for you to start with. Then get the figures you want for that particular game and build your collection over the course of a few weeks or months rather than days. Rushing things is likely to lead to even more mistakes, which I'll go over now. The next mistake that is common to make is focusing too much on collecting what you need for 100% completion. This can be a good goal, since it will be cheaper than collecting everything, but other problems may present themselves from a psychological perspective. For example, in the first game, Spyro's Adventure, you need 8 figures, 1 of each element for 100% completion. Will that satisfy your completionist needs though? You will have gaping holes in the character collection screen and you won't be able to play all heroic challenges either. You will also be missing out on the 4 levels unlocked behind the physical adventure packs too. Even though the save file eventually says 100% completion, you have technically not experienced the whole game. In Superchargers, there actually isn't any percentage indication whatsoever. You just need 1 Skylander and a vehicle of each type to play all story missions and all races. You are however missing out on several supercharged challenges and elemental challenges, so again, you're still not experiencing the entire game. You can get 100% completion in Imaginators without buying a single creation crystal, and therefore also missing out on one of the game's coolest and most elaborate gimmicks, creating your own custom-made Skylanders called Imaginators. Also, you'll need the Senseis Robo and Wildstorm for 100% completion, since they unlock a level each, and for the price of those 2, you can get about 7 or 8 other Senseis. More on that later. Also, the Skylanders generally play quite differently. You may want to get 100% on Skylanders Trap Team and buy the first Trap Master you can find of each element. But then you realize that when it comes to the Life element, Bushwhack suits your playstyle much better than Tough Luck, and you end up with another Life Trap Master anyway. My point in all this is that 100% completion on the save file is just one parameter of the game, and it literally doesn't mean that you'll get to experience everything that you want from any particular game. Again, do your research and see what you think you want to get, even if it means not getting 100% save file. The next mistake that you may make is collecting all different versions of the same characters. During the course of the series' existence, new versions of already existing characters were released for subsequent games. These figures are called reposes and are usually referred to as Series 2, 3 or 4, depending on the number of appearances. They feature a new pose or sometimes entirely new look and an increased level cap, but their moveset is identical to the original version, except for one special ability called a Wow Pow. The Wow Pow is unique to the different versions, but again, it's the only difference in regards to the moveset. The neat thing about them is that they are one of the few types of Skylanders that are backwards compatible. For example, the Series 2 version of Eruptor, released for game number 2, Skylanders Giants, will appear as its original Series 1 version when you put them on the portal while playing the first game, Spyro's Adventure. In a way, you therefore get 2 figures for the price of 1. There is little reason for most players to buy all of the different versions of the same character. My tip is to buy just the latest version of any given figure that you can find, and you'll also get all the previous versions of that figure, including the unique Wow Pow. The only reasons I can think of to buy multiple versions of the same character would be that you are a collector and you want every figure just because, or you want to use multiple upgrade paths for the same character in a convenient way. We have one more common mistake to go over, and that is that people start their collection without making a budget beforehand. The Skylanders used market is a bit of a jungle. Some characters have remained very cheap and others ridiculously expensive, and they can be from the same game. Add to that prices differ between regions, and it quickly becomes quite hard to give tips about which characters are more affordable than others. Before you set off on your collecting adventure, you should however make a budget. Let's pick the original game, Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, for example. Say you find the game and the portal for $5 and you buy most of the 32 figures in bulk and get them for about $2 each on average. 32 times 2 plus $5 for the original game equals $69. Sure, it might be worth it, but it can also be viewed as a bit steep for a 10-year-old game, even though it's possible to get it for cheaper than in my example here. And don't even get me started on Trap Team and Imaginators, the 2 most expensive games in the series. Say you want 100% save file in Skylanders Imaginators, for which you'll need more than 10 different senseis to get all elements and battle classes. Senseis rarely go for less than $15, and to get all the extra levels, 2 of those senseis will have to be Robo and Wildstorm, which rarely goes for less than $100 each. You can do the math yourself and see that this will set you back more than what you probably expected before starting your collection. It's up to you to decide how much money you want to spend, and let's just say that I'm not the one to judge you for collecting too many Toys to Life figures. Just make sure to check the prices and availability beforehand so that you are not left with less things than you wanted in the first place. If you found this video helpful, you may want to check out my video of what I think you should buy for each Skylanders game. Watch it by clicking on it right now. Also, feel free to subscribe for weekly content, and thank you for watching. My name is Coming Clean, and I will see you next time. Take care!